Welcome back to Unstuck TV. Today we are talking to Patty Domingo, who's just got an amazing story, and she's going from tragedy to triumph. We were talking before the break about how you used a mindset of positivity to kind of push out the negative thoughts in your mind. Give us some other tools that our audience can use for themselves when they're going through tragedy.
Sure. Well, you guys know, to keep moving. Activity is one of the ways that I keep doing things, keep that positive mindset. Yoga, definitely. Just keep working out, keep moving, definitely one of the actions, right?
Absolutely.
I'm actually going to give just a tiny plug for a friend of mine right now, if you don't mind. There's a group out here called Yoga Haven, and they actually teach yoga to survivors of domestic abuse and to children in underserved communities and things like that. So yoga, there is a lot of research showing how much yoga can actually affect your mind, not just your body.
Oh, yeah.
So,
In fact, my wife is a psychiatrist, but has taught yoga therapy as well. So there's a whole study based on, healing depression and everything else through yoga. So.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It's, I know one time in the park, just doing yoga in the park, I just started crying. And it was just, I guess...
Me too, actually.
Yeah!
Whole different reason. Try to make me do yoga, there's going to be crying.
I think it was probably when you tried to lift your leg in the wrong position.
Yeah, well, it's a whole nother show.
Oh, yes.
if you had done more yoga when you fell off that ladder, you could have done it very gracefully.
Yes, there was some downward dog going on there.
I think you should show us that position you were doing. No? Okay, forget
This
it.
is
Yoga.
This is a family show.
So-
We can't be doing that sort of stuff here. You know?
One of the tools is moving and taking action. I actually
Yes.
have a sticker above my desk that says
Keep
action
moving.
cures fear.
Yes,
So-
action does cure fear.
Actually, one of my 5 categories on the Finding Your Happiness graph is activities. I think it's extremely important and definitely helpful for finding happiness in general, let alone getting over situations.
Oh, yes,
So,
yes.
without a doubt.
Yes. What are those? Dopamine? No.
Mhm.
Is that?
Dopamine
Okay.
is a thing.
Yes, yes.
It's a word.
I don't know if it's the thing you want, but
Yes, that is a word.
I think we all want, but yeah.
So, I was thinking with weed legal, I just wanted to make sure I was using the right. Okay.
dopamine, dope, whatever.
I
you
have
want.
absolutely no idea what show we're on right now, but let's just keep this going.
This is the New York side.
That's-
Sorry.
yeah, sorry.
Only one here not from New York. I don't know what that's good or bad, but all right. So
Moving on.
we talked about your struggle. We've given a little bit of strategy. Tell us, is it possible if you have somebody that's suffering from PTSD?
Yes.
Okay. Is it possible to get over that? Is it possible to move on? Like, how? Tell us a little bit about your expertise in that area.
Okay. When you say move on, do you mean will you ever not have PTSD?
What advice do you have for managing that?
Okay. Managing the PTSD. Definitely my first step and advice is to have a therapist, such as your wife, any kind of therapist that you work well with. And that is the most important thing. Somebody that you work well with. You can go to somebody that is recommended to you, but you have to have that relationship with them. Correct?
Mm-hmm.
Because if they are advising you something that you don't feel comfortable with, okay, there is a difference between not feeling comfortable with it and just not feeling comfortable with them.
Mm-hmm.
Because there are going to be situations when you're not going to be feeling
So
comfortable.
you have to be pushed out of your comfort zone, I'm
Right.
sure.
But if you don't feel comfortable with that person, you don't feel like you're progressing. You need to progress. So therapy is definitely, and it's not a bad thing. It is really not a bad thing. Okay, definitely need that. In addition, there are definite sources, you need to talk about it. If you suppress it, then it's going to come out as a trigger. Yeah?
Absolutely.
And I don't know what each person's trigger is going to come out as. My trigger was flashing lights. And it was after having a drink and being kind of mellowed out and not having my guard up.
I just want to add one thing, just for people that kind of haven't experienced PTSD and don't really know what the triggers are that you're talking about. If you can imagine somebody that's been through a war, experienced a war, and a car backfires, and suddenly they hit the ground. That's kind of what you mean by triggers.
Let's just clarify, PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. So it's somebody that has experienced a trauma, and there is a trigger that will actually send you emotionally kind of back into that trauma.
Yeah, sorry, I should have explained that, but thank you. Thank you for your support.
Of course.
We've all been there.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I'm working on for this next book is actually using emotional intelligence to be able to understand the onset of an emotion, because typically where a lot of this comes from is some sort of an unmet expectation that triggers an emotion. So when we begin to realize the onset of the emotion, we can determine where it's coming from, what the source is, so that we can quickly shift out of it. So
yeah,
a little more difficult with PTSD because it's taking you back to a situation that you're not currently actually in. But in any other stressful, emotional situation, we realize that this emotion that I'm starting to feel is coming because of an unmet expectation. Once I realize what that is, I can deal with the expectation rather than getting stuck in the emotion.
Yeah, okay. And the best advice I can give is to take care of it right away. The faster you take care of things, the faster you take care of your emotion, and whatever the situation is, the quicker you will get through it. That's what I'm here for, to guide trauma survivors quicker, so that it doesn't take as long as it took me, 8 years. So
let's talk about that. You mentioned get through it, but we never really get through it or get over it.
You manage your symptoms, and you manage how you react to your symptoms.
And did you notice, was there something specific that made that change for you, or was it over time, or do you just get a little bit better each time?
Well, my thing was realizing that I wanted to have control of my life. I wanted to live my life, live my chosen life. I didn't want someone else controlling my life. I didn't want my emotions, like you say, controlling my life. So once I realized that I needed to get my life back, get unstuck.
What a great word.
I like that word. So once I realized that, I had to figure out how to do it. And in my situation, there was no one there telling me how to do it. So when no one tells you how to do it, you figure it out.
So if somebody's watching right now and they're feeling stuck, they're feeling like because of a trauma, something serious has happened in their life, what would you tell them to do first?
Reach out. Reach out to me, you. Do your search, because there is a lot more assistance out there than there was 8 years ago. I'm sorry, this world is difficult now, but don't think of it as something that you cannot get past. There are challenges. They will get you to the next place you need to be. And the first thing that you need to do is take that step to get to your chosen life, to where you want to live.
And you can learn how to manage emotions. You can learn how to process things better, to be better prepared for situations that come up, to recognize when the onset of that emotion happens, to be able to shift your perspective and manage your circumstances better. So, Cheryl, what advice do you have for that person that's...
realize you're not alone. I think that's excellent advice. A lot of times when you're going through PTSD or depression or any of those emotions, you feel like you're the only one that's experiencing it, and you're not. There's a lot of people that have been through it and can help you with their journey.
More resources, check us out at unstuckconferences.com.
And Patty, how do people get in touch with you?
They can go to my my Facebook page, Living Your Chosen Life, Patty Domingo.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being